these questions. Every one of these types of questions is different, right? Sometimes it's probability, sometimes it's how many outcomes are there. You got to be able to read the questions carefully. Each one of these questions is a little bit different. Change one little word in the problem, that changes everything that we do, okay? All right, so here's some problems that I'm going to cross off that are not already crossed off. Okay, E on number 1. E and F on number 2. Number 5. I'm going to work through some of these with you. We've done a lot of problems with Venn diagrams. There's going to be a couple of problems on the review here that Venn diagrams are going to pop up. We had some struggles with this, at least filling in the Venn diagram on the quiz. And so I'm not going to go through the whole thing with you, but I'm just going to kind of talk about the process that we go through here. So set A is talking about the set of universal numbers. And if it doesn't say what is the set of universal numbers, you may want to list it out, but because that's part A, I'm going to go ahead and do it on part A. 2 subsets created from the universal set. First of all, the universal set is multiples of 3. So the universal set are your multiples of 3. So we're going to count 3, 6, 9 by 3s. All the way up to 36. So that's my set of numbers, okay? And what I want you to understand, and this is what some people are struggling with. These are the numbers that are going to go in this box, okay? Somewhere in that box, but we only use it one time. That's it, once. What some people are doing is some people are putting it like in all 3 spots, if it's in A and B, but we don't do that, okay? If it's in both, we put it in the middle, and we don't put it in any other spots. So all of these numbers get placed somewhere in that box, but only one time, okay? And so when I look at A is even numbers. B is numbers greater than 15. So even numbers greater than 15, we always start inside out. We're going to go to the overlap here, and we want even numbers greater than 15. So we're going to go to 18, 24, 30, and 36. And once I put those numbers in there, they're done. We're not going to use them again, okay? They're in the box already. Okay, A is the set of even numbers. We already have these listed, so all the other even numbers are going to go in the other part of circle A. So now we're looking at numbers like 6 and 12. And then we place set B. Well, set B is numbers bigger than 15. So numbers bigger than 15 that are not already included here would be 21, 27, and 33. Okay, and then we have a few numbers that don't fit either one of those sets. So we're talking about numbers that are less than 15 and are also odd. So we're looking at 3, 9, and 15. All of these numbers should be in this somewhere. We don't want to leave anything out, okay? And then you can answer the questions. Here's one of the questions that a lot of people were struggling with. If I said, what's in set A? Some people would just say 6 and 12. 6 and 12 are in set A, but what we're forgetting most of the time is that these numbers right here are in A and B. So these numbers are also included. So it'd be these two numbers and these four numbers. So we actually have 6 numbers in A. Anything that's in that big circle is in circle A, set A. Okay? So remember that this means and this means or. Big difference between those two. Okay? And means it has to be in both, or means one or the other. Or you typically have more possibilities. You have more in your set. Okay, number 2. What you really got to be careful of on problems like this, do I have the word or do I have the word and? Sometimes you may not have either one. But if you have one of those in there, then that's where a lot of mistakes are made, because we don't read the question very carefully. And you've got to read these questions carefully to understand exactly what they're wanting. And means it has to be in both sets. Or means one or the other set. So once again, there would be more possibilities. Going down to the bottom, number 3. Here, we're trying to find how many possibilities do I have to choose at this wedding. Okay? So when I go to this wedding, I get to make 3 choices. First thing I get to choose is, what's my appetizer? Am I going to choose a soup or am I going to choose a salad? So I have 2 choices of appetizer. Then I get to choose my dinner. Chicken, steak, or veggie. So I got 3 choices for my dinner. And then for dessert, I have 2 types of cake to choose from. What do we do with those 3 numbers? Always multiply. And so here we would have 12 possibilities. What some people did on the quiz where they are trying to write that as probability. It doesn't say what's the probability, it just says how many outcomes do we have. How many different choices of meals can I put together? We have 12 different meals. So that's what you're doing on those. Okay. Page 2, I'm going to cross off number 10. 13, 14, 15, and 16 are already been taken off, so you don't need to do anything there. That's why there's 1. Okay. When you have to draw the Venn diagram on your own, some people might say, well, I can do this without the Venn diagram, but I would say probably not, because some of the numbers that are going to go in your answers here are not listed out up here. So we have to redo the Venn diagram just to kind of figure out who fits what. So we have the universal set here would be the number of dancers that I have. Have 125 students in this dance class or dance studio. Some do ballet. Some do jazz, and I always like to label B for ballet, J for jazz. And then some people are not going to do either one. Maybe they do a different type of dance. Okay. The way these are worded is a little bit tricky, maybe. 96 take ballet, 50 take jazz. So what that means is 96 people are going to be in this circle right here. 50 are going to be in the jazz circle. 28 of the ones that take ballet also take jazz. So that means the overlap right here would be 28. There's 28 people that do both. Always start inside out. It tells me 96 people take ballet. So this whole circle needs to be 96. Where people do go wrong here is they put 96 right here. 96, this is just the people that only take ballet. We are including the people that do both, so I have to take 96 minus 28. And that would be 68 right here. Okay, same thing with jazz. I have 50 students that take jazz, so 50 minus 28 would be 22. Okay, and then we could also figure out how many fit on the outside. So this would be 50, this would be 68, so that'd be 118. So 125 minus 118 means there's 7 students on the outside here that don't fit in either one of those categories. Okay. Doing that first is pretty important because I'm going to show you that when I do one of these problems, okay, like for instance, if I do C, what's the probability that my student that I choose does neither ballet or jazz? Well, we've already figured out what that number is, right? We said there's 7 people that don't do those type of dance. And so that would be 7 out of 125. Nowhere up here in this problem does it say anything about 7. So if you don't do your Venn diagram, how are you going to come up with 7, right? That's why you got to do the Venn diagram. Some people would say, I don't need to do it, I got this. Well, you better know how to figure out where that number is going to come from, okay? So that's what you're doing on there. Once again, pay attention to your wording. Is it or, is it and? A lot of different types of wording that we're going to see. It does say probability. I would say we're always going to write our answer in a fraction for probability unless it says otherwise. Big blank there at the bottom. Okay, page 3, number 18, 21, and 24 is already gone. Okay, compound probability. Some of this stuff is stuff that we did way before spring break. So I know it's going to seem like a while since we've done this, because it has been. It's been a couple of weeks since we've seen some of these topics. This one, we are doing both events. We're going to pick a blue or spin a blue, and then we're going to spin an even. So we're going to spin the first spinner first. What's the probability that my spinner lands on blue for that first spinner? 3 out of 8. Yep, 8 sections, 3 of them are blue. So that would be 3 out of 8. Then on the second spinner, I want to land on an even number. 5 out of 10. And what I'm going to do here is half of them are even, half of them are odd. I'm going to go ahead and reduce it, okay? If you want to go ahead and write it as 5 over 10 and then reduce it, or just multiply it with 5 over 10, I'm okay with that too. But always make sure that your answer is simplified at the very end. And we should get 3 out of 16. Okay, on this one here, make sure you know that it is not replaced. When I do these problems with the marbles or whatever, if I reach into a bag and I pick one out, am I putting it back in the bag or am I leaving it out? This one is not replaced, so that means every time I choose, I have one less to choose from. Okay, so if I reach in and pick out a dime, I have 40 to choose from, and 9 of them are dimes. The second time I reach in and pick out a marble, or in this case a coin, then now I only have 39 coins left, and out of them, 10 are nickels. Okay, and from here, I'm okay with you putting this into your calculator. Right? 9 out of 40 times 10 out of 39. Make sure, and most of your time, your calculator is going to put it into reduced form for you, but just make sure it's reduced. If you don't know how to use your calculator, today's the day to ask, not in the middle of the test on Monday. Okay. Conditional probability. Okay, this is the one that has a slash with it. I know it's a conditional probability whenever I see that slash. So originally it says we have the numbers 1 to 50, but then when we do the probability of an event, let's go down to part B. From the numbers 1 to 50, how many numbers are even? 25. Half of them are even, half of them are odd, okay? So 25 even numbers, okay? Now, here's the trick. We are only looking at even numbers now. We're not looking at the whole set. We have limited our focus, right? We're only focusing on the even numbers. Out of those even numbers, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, all the way up to 50, how many of them are greater than 10? I think it would be easier to think of, rather than counting, right? You could count that many, but 2, 4, 6, 8, and it says greater than 10, so we're going to include 10. There's 5 numbers that are not greater than 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, so that means there are 20 numbers that are greater than 10. So you could either count how many are or how many aren't, but those should add up to be 25, right? So there's a couple different ways you can kind of approach that, and then always make sure to reduce. Okay? But just be careful, right? Read it carefully, limit your focus. All of those things are really, really important things. Okay, page 4, 26 is gone. You can also cross off number 32.
What'd you say? No.
Okay. We've seen some problems like this. Here's another Venn diagram problem on number 27. There's a practice trying to do that. This week we've talked about filling out a table, doing the relative frequency of that table. I won't do this whole table with you, but just kind of show you that, like, to get the boys that are blue, we would take 49 minus 21, so there would be 28 in that box right there. Those two numbers have to add up to be 49. And you could go ahead, that box should be pretty easy to fill out, just adding or subtracting. Okay, and we always want to make sure that this column going down and this row going across always add up to be 250, both directions, okay? Both of those should add up to be 250. If they don't add up to be the same number, then I've done something wrong. Hey, as far as the relative frequency goes, we're going to do the number over the total. So I'm going to go 28 over 250. Okay, and I'm just putting the fraction here because I want to show you where the decimal comes from, but the decimal is really the number that we want. Okay. You don't have to put the fraction on all of those. You can just put the fraction into your calculator and get what the decimal is. And remember, whenever you do this relative frequency, and the bottom right-hand box, or part of the box, all of your percentages should add up to be 1 when you're done. Okay, and then you're just going to use those two boxes to answer the questions on bottom, depending on what situation is being asked. Okay, okay, and then on the last page, you can cross off number 45. Okay, and they'll be crossed off on my key as well, if you forget that. All right, I'm going to go back page. Is really what we've been working on this week. You've got factorial, you have permutations, you have combinations. Let's say I was doing number 40 here. Okay, the number of ways to form a 12-person jury from 40 people. How many different ways can I put a group of 12 together from 40? Does order matter here? No, I'm just picking 12 people. These are the 12 people we're going to pick to be on our jury. So if order does not matter, what are we going to use? C. We're just going to choose 12 of them. So it's just 40 choose 12. Okay, if we look at like number 41, a 6-digit passcode, the order matters, right? What we said yesterday is 1, 2, 3, and 3, 2, 1 don't both get me into the locker. It has the same numbers on it, but one's going to get me in, one's not going to get me in. So just because it has the same numbers doesn't mean it's going to work. So I want to make a 6-digit passcode using the numbers 1 through 8. So this has got 8 numbers to choose from, and we're going to pick 6 of them, and we're going to put them in order. Order does matter here. Okay. So that's what you have to decide on those. On number 38, if I take all 7 letters in the word journey and rearrange them, you could do P here because it does say arrange, but even easier than that, I think, would just be 7 factorial. And if you don't know how to put those into your calculator, ask. Because once again, I'm not going to show you in the middle of the test next week. We've had ample opportunity to do that the last couple of days. So make sure today you know how to use your calculator. Okay? And then make sure you have your calculator with you on Monday. And then the bottom 3 down here are probability. That's what we did yesterday. Okay? So the bottom number is going to be total number of possibilities. Top number is going to be the situation I want to happen out of that group. Okay, I'm going to let you guys work.